going on, and Dr. Compton had to be the negotiator with the people that were working for him. And I learned later his brother was the president of MIT. And I also learned that they were a couple of Buckeyes like I was, and they graduated from Worcester College and became great physicists. So I could see the connection between MIT and the University of Chicago, with Compton's brother being president
Right.
of MIT. So Chipman was really supported by their president. And the communication,
Was interesting.
I don't think a lot of people knew this about this close working relationship between the MIT and the University of Chicago in other areas other than physics.
Yeah, it raises the interesting question that physics, they always say, you know, a rocket scientist can figure something out or a physicist, but you hardly ever hear a metallurgist could figure something out and make it work. So kind of metallurgists are always behind the scene. But as you know, I believe that in the history of the world, it's metallurgy that tells you whether a bridge is going to make it or not. And it is an important field, and you clearly have been involved with this beautiful period of development and advancement in the metallurgical area. And again, I think we're really fortunate to have your insights.
Can I give you a little story about when Nixon was in office? He negotiated a partnership with the Russians on at least 13 or more scientific areas: physics, agriculture, computers, mathematics, and on and on. And really one of the big ones was metallurgy, materials. Russians called it electrometallurgy. And when I got the first meeting with them, metallurgy was really, really important to the Russians. And the fact that a metallurgist became the premier of Russia. Well, getting back to this exchange agreement we had, turned out, I can give you a quick capsule. In our country, Frank could be a physicist, and he got interested in the metallurgy area, and took courses in metallurgy, and sort of merged the physics and the metallurgy. And not only metallurgists were considered the materials people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I found out in the education then, Russians, their education was really narrow. If they were going to be in electroslag melting or different types of areas, in their education, that's where they ended up. Mm-hmm. And from what I could see, they probably spent their life in that narrow field. Mm-hmm. Where ours, you could be working for a corporation in some area, and you didn't like that, you could get into producing area. And ours had a much broader education, and you had the better feel for what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And when the Congressional Committee reviewed what came out of these exchanges, the Congressional Committee came to the conclusion that our metallurgy group, compared to all these others, did the greatest amount of good for both our countries, and got the most results of them. So that I was very proud of it, and
proud to be part of our program.
Proud of our program. And a lot of people that I was working with at the Atomic Energy, and later the other
ERDA, Research and Development
Department of Energy,
and then the Department of Energy.
They really weren't aware of my participation in this exchange. And a lot of that work was classified, and we had to go through reviews before and after visits. And for some reason, before we ever met, I was told to sit next to our head of this materials group, and be wide awake to what's going on. And when I would sit at these conferences, when I wanted to hear the discussion going on, I would raise my head and close my eyes and just turn off everything just to listen to the conversation. And we were always meeting in the conference room with the Russians on that one side of the table, and we were on another side of the table. And when I was looking up at the ceiling, I noticed that we had a drop ceiling over the Russians, and we had about 12-inch drop that we were facing. And I was looking along that drop, and I spotted a hearing aid, a tiny one, embedded in the wall. And the Russians immediately noticed my reaction. I didn't say anything, but I spotted the hearing aid. They probably had others.
Well, this was the Cold War, so it's not surprising. They bugged our embassy. Why shouldn't they bug your meetings? So
they really were. This was at the Russian Academy of Science.